Brought him a lot. You know, he would have been 15 this year. I can't imagine my brother at 15. He was doing well in school. I was helping him. He was getting good grades. He was getting good grades.
Then what happened next, John?
Well, my mother came home, and I killed my mother. Then I got in the car to pick up my father. I picked up my father from work, and I brought him home. And I snuck up behind him, too. Sometimes sometimes I can't even believe that I actually did that. It's incredible.
After killing his family, John tried to kill himself by slashing his own wrists. Frightened, desperate, wanting to die, he got back into the family car and drove it at top speed, slamming into a stopped car. Tragically, the other driver was killed instantly. John suffered only minor injuries. John is now serving his sentence of 25 years to life in the maximum security prison at Auburn, New York. While in prison, John has undergone a series of psychological tests that have clearly revealed he was a teenager in serious trouble and in need of help. He is in a unit for mentally disturbed prisoners.
What we have here is a unit for inmates who are not able to do their time in open prison population. In John's case, his presenting problem at the moment seems to be that he's highly suicidal. At some point in time, he wants to kill himself because he wants to join his family. At other times, he wants to kill himself because he feels guilty for what he has done. At other times, he looks forward to being released from prison and going out and getting a good job and getting married and having a house in the suburbs and 2 cars and a cat and a dog. And that he doesn't see that all of these things don't fit together in the same world. John comes from a family that has a history of schizophrenia in it, and we do know that schizophrenia tends to run in families. He described on the day of the murders that his thoughts were racing and he would go from one subject to the next to the next. That's characteristic of schizophrenics.
There are times when I get like that and I can't sleep. I get thoughts from anywhere and I keep brooding on thoughts. It keeps on going and going and going. It's like if there was a football game on TV, well, I would think, well, the football player is kicking the ball with his foot. The foot is connected to the leg. The leg goes on and the leg walks, helps you walk. You might walk to the store to buy something. To buy something, you need money. And to need money, you need to work. And it keeps on going like that and that and that. Everything just keeps like together and like a chain.
What we know about schizophrenics generally today is that stress exacerbates the disorder, causes it to onset, causes it to get worse, and that people who live in rather stress-free kinds of environments do better on the whole. So if you inherit genes that say that you could become schizophrenic, the probability of becoming schizophrenic is not 100%.
John's grandfather and aunt have stuck by him since his conviction, paying his legal fees and visiting him in prison. With hindsight, they are painfully aware of the way the family ignored John's suicide attempt, his paranoia, and his recklessness, and how it built to its tragic conclusion. Other relatives have washed their hands of the matter, but Andrew and Jean still struggle to explain how this boy they love could have murdered 3 beloved family members.
I actually believe that letter, that he did it because he loved them. He felt in his own warped mind that day that he was doing them a favor. And I believe that in a way it was also an extended suicide. He felt life wasn't worth living. And if he was going to die, he wasn't going to hurt them by having to deal with his death. And it's how I've come to accept, not accept it, but live with it, that he really was doing it out of love in his mind.
I don't think I've ever really understood that I killed my family. Sometimes I get off on a wacky thought that they're still alive. But I know that isn't true. I gotta learn to live with it, somehow. You know, I have the means, you know, to kill myself any time that I want. But I don't want to die. But I don't want to live with what I did. I wish I could just bring them back. I want to see them again. I want to hug my mother again. I miss her.
Northern High School in Durham, North Carolina boasts an award-winning marching band and a championship football team. School spirit here is high. But on this same field, a one-sided teenage romance began that left a cheerleader dead and a drummer in the band in prison with a life sentence. Norma Russell was shot 7 times in the chest at point-blank range by 17-year-old David Mancuso. The shooting was a culmination of a 6-year infatuation that started with a crush and ended.
When I would think about her, I'd try to think about something else. But when I did this, it just got to where I wanted to see her more, to be around her more. The more I tried to ignore her, the more I wanted to be around her. I just couldn't seem to stop. I first met Norma the first year I started school when we moved to North Carolina in 1979. She was in the same homeroom as I was. But we didn't really meet until junior high school. A couple of guys I knew in the band knew a couple of the cheerleaders, and we went over there and introduced me to some of them. And that's when I first met her. She first knew who I was, and I first knew who she was. The band was another family for me. I could go out there and just be around other people who I knew cared for me. Just go out there and play my music, make people happy.
While David played in the band, his parents were in the stands for every game and were actively involved in David's band activities. They believed their son was living a full, well-adjusted life.
Actually, he was a typical 16-year-old was. One day he'd be joking, the next day he'd be moody, and the next day he's excited about the band coming up or whatever. I would describe David as a boy that any father would want to have for a son. He was real caring. He was real considerate of other people. He went out of his way to help people.
David comes from a close-knit, industrious family. His father is a computer technician who travels a lot and who likes to keep busy around the house on weekends. His brother is an honor student and a member of the school band. His mother spends most of her time and energy caring for their oldest child, Lynn, who was in a car crash at age 6 that left her crippled and brain damaged.
David always was very helpful with me with Lynn. His dad travels quite a bit, and David would go to the store for me or do errands for me. He never once said, hey, I can't do that, I don't want to. He'd just go ahead and do it.
He didn't have a lot of friends. He was a quiet, kind of nerdy guy, but Norma was his friend. She was friends with everyone. So that's one of the reasons he was drawn to her.
She treated me different than a lot of girls treated me. She treated me as a friend, as an equal. She smiled at me when I come up to talk to her. She never turned her back on me or nothing like that. She's always trying to be my friend. And I've really appreciated that. when I was on the school newspaper staff, I started putting little personal ads in the newspaper. They all said, to all the varsity cheerleaders, y'all have great legs, signed the professor. That was my nickname. I did that for a couple of months. Then I started putting to Norma Russell and the rest of the varsity cheerleaders, signed the professor. I started doing things with just her name in them. I interviewed her once for the school newspaper. She was very nice to me. I like that.
My senior year in high school, he sat behind me in English. And so he would always ask me, have you seen Norma? And he would always ask about her, and he would give me notes to give her. I didn't really think very much about it, except it bothered me because every time he would talk to me, he was just like, what's Norma doing? Where's Norma? I just thought it was funny. It's like, oh, there's David asking about Norma again.
Though Norma never went out with David, she continued to be friendly toward him, telling her friends that she felt sorry for David because of the way other students used to tease him. But David couldn't accept the idea that they were just friends.
At first, it was understandable because when you got a crush on somebody, you think about them all the time, but she never did anything to make him, that I could see, that would make him think that she was interested, so it was kind of like he was doing it all for nothing.
I thought we talked about everything. We used to talk about sex, girls, studies, everything, and I thought he was open with me. I didn't know he had this thing for her.
But no matter what David's parents thought, his behavior was changing. He was beginning to send out signals that his obsession with Norma was getting out of control.
In his junior year, possibly, he became a little more attentive, a little more aggressive, but not until his senior year, their senior year, did he really just go beyond what she could stand. And she would just come home and say, Mother, he's driving me crazy. I don't believe I can stand it anymore.
He started to kind of just sit by himself and mope. And then at home, he would go into his room and just disappear and come out and eat and then go back into his room. And he wouldn't really socialize, and he wouldn't go out with his friends. And I thought he'd been more and more depressed.
By December of his senior year, a month before the murder, David's grades had fallen to D's and F's in every subject except band.
I had talked to him, and David assured me I was room and work on, and do what I thought he was doing homework. Because David never gave me any indication at all that he wouldn't do what I asked